In Britain they call Christmas the season of goodwill, but you won't find much bonhomie here. Downing Street in 2022 produced pantomime-style politics. It might have been funny if the consequences weren't so serious. Boris Johnson led the way. The so-called Partygate dragged on. A police investigation, a fine for Johnson.
No COVID rules were broken, and that is what I have been repeatedly assured.
And when photos emerged, the story changed.
It did not occur to me that this might have been a breach of the rules.
He lied frequently, and after a while people didn't take seriously what he said. There is no doubt that the office of Prime Minister has been demeaned over the past year. Boris Johnson became a joke.
The parliamentary party eventually decided Johnson was a liability.
Many commentators described it as the Downing Street soap opera. Firstly, Boris Johnson simply had to go against his will. His parting words, "Hasta la vista, baby, I'll be back." Then Liz Truss. She's been described as playing the leading part in a psychodrama. And then enter stage right Rishi Sunak, no friend of Liz Truss, and his nickname, the Invisible Man.
Sunak was dubbed the Invisible Man because he's been keeping a low profile. With his Conservative Party so split, support can't be guaranteed.
Your Majesty, lovely to see you.
He only had to look back on the debacle of the Liz Truss premiership to realise how quickly backbench MPs can get rid of their leader. She proposed massive unfunded tax cuts, but the sums didn't add up, and she blamed her friend and finance minister Kwasi Kwarteng.
We need a new approach for a new era, focused on growth.
There was a currency freefall and ballooning costs of government borrowing. She fired him, but it didn't stop an almighty financial crash. She talked the talk.
I am a fighter and not a quitter.
But had to walk.
I have therefore spoken to His Majesty the King to notify him that I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party.
Britain was a laughingstock worldwide. One newspaper here featured a fresh lettuce webcam. Would it outlast Liz Truss? Yes. But with inflation now at a 41-year high, no one's laughing. Strikes over pay demands abound, hitting public services. They're frequent and they're causing major disruption. The Royal Mail, the trains, the National Health Service hit by paramedics and nurses walking out.
I think this government, and especially after we saw what Liz Truss done and collapsed public finances, I don't think this government is fit to run a sweet shop, let alone a complex healthcare system like the NHS.
But can Rishi Sunak get away from the Invisible Man image and set things on course again?
He's a bit boring so far, but I think he would be quite happy to be boring, and I think quite a lot of voters would be quite relieved to have a boring Prime Minister and boring politics for a while. But maybe, just maybe, this is a time for managerial problem solving rather than vision.
So, there could be no humorous ending to the farce of British politics in 2022. There's an irony instead. The UK was promised tax cuts by Liz Truss. Instead, it's now weighed down with the biggest tax burden since the 1950s. Andrew Simmons, Al Jazeera, London.